Hello, welcome. I'm so glad that you have taken some time out to join me today. I'd love to hear a little bit about you if you have a second in the comments, maybe where you're from, or or how you found this workshop today. But I don't know about you. I'm always just really excited when the technology works and and things run and they show up and we're all here. It still sort of amazes me all the time. So thank you so much. And I just want to begin by letting you know that this talk is about 45 minutes. So settle in and enjoy. And it's hard for me to take comments while the session is running. So um, maybe jot down any questions that you have along the way and let me know at the end. So let's begin with my talk, which is the toxic trait of self help. And I want to start with just a little bit more about me. So my name is Carrie Mangus, and I am an author and a wholeness advocate and a spiritual teacher with over 20 years of experience. My first book, Embodying Soul: A Return to Wholeness, won the IPA Award for Mind, Body, and Spirit. And I've been writing for spirituality and health. And I was once published in the Minneapolis Star Tribune, which was very exciting. My book, Embodying Soul, is down there on the left. I also have a podcast called Awaken Your Power. I pop in and out with that. And I want to let you know about a free resource that I have that's available on my website, right on the homepage. It's called Secrets of Personal Transformation. And that's just a free download, which has all kinds of work in it that I think is super valuable, especially in times that we're living in right now, where it kind of might seem like everything is falling apart. And so we need some guidance and some tips to stay centered throughout all of that. But more than just about what I do, a little bit more about who I am and why I do the work that I do. The driving force behind all of my work is a desire for truth and authenticity. I seek ease and clarity with myself, sovereignty and inner power, inner authority. I want all of my work to be infused with vision and magic and possibility. So I love bringing in the right brain as well as the left. I love curiosity and creativity, and I love free emotional expression. As a wholeness advocate, my mission is to reconcile the divisions among ourselves. And for me, wholeness is all about that union of light and dark, of the angel on our shoulder with the devil on our shoulder, our masculine with our feminine, our so-called good traits with our so-called bad traits, to just bring us into this whole humanity. And then when we do this and we do it properly, we become more than just the sum of our parts. So all of my work, whether it's my written work, my articles, my blogs, my books, and my courses and my YouTube talks, all of this is grounded by this desire to bring more wholeness to us as individuals and then carry that into the world. So today's talk is about the toxic trait of self-help. Now, I have been a participant of self-help for many, many years. I am both its audience and oftentimes its spokesperson. So I'm an insider and an outsider, I think you could say. We're going to talk a little bit more about what self-help really is. And then I want to get into what it promises, what the tactics are, what the results of those tactics are in our lives. And then I'll boil it down to what that toxic trait really is. And I'll share that there really is some deeper wisdom that we can lean into, especially in times like today. And again, we'll talk about what our needs are for today and how they differ from what self-help promises. So when we're thinking about self-help, I mean, it packs all the bookstore shelves. It refers to the process of improving one's life, mental well-being, or personal circumstances through individual effort, often without support. That's the whole idea of the self in the self-help. It emphasizes personal responsibility and self-reliance, very American kind of traits. And usually through strategies and techniques and tools. I mean, that's what we're always hearing. 10 new strategies, here are some new techniques, and here's something new for your toolbox. But if we really look at all of those things, they all emphasize boosting, growing, expanding, building, improving, and all the other adjectives that have to do with up and out. There's very little about it that is down and in. So we'll talk more about that as we go. So self-help runs the gamut in both the secular and the spiritual realms. So we're talking personal development courses, coaches, and so forth. We're talking about anything that just calls itself self-improvement. I'm lumping in here the new age manifestation and law of attraction, these ideas that if you just think about it hard enough, you can manifest it. Um, the healing modalities, just generally the wellness industry in general, and all of the productivity, the success, and the habit models of, change your life, become rich, make friends, influence people, all of that. The promises of self help, when you really look at what it tends to promise, is it's usually observable achievement, material success, everything that can be measured from the outside. So what do people see? And that success is visible in the world to others. Whereas in my own experience, oftentimes my success with my own growth and healing is not observable to others. It's just something within me. They often promise acceptance and belonging. I mean, self-help is really about fitting in. And again, here I'd say that a lot of times when we're really following our path, it doesn't always put us on the in path. Again, here a sense of living your purpose, which is wonderful, and I do think that this is important. But what if it is just the purpose that society would accept? I mean, what if your purpose, your greater purpose is even deeper than that, but it may or may not be, accepted yet by society? And so I think I want to make room for that in my work, that maybe you're maybe you're going to get that sense of living your purpose, and maybe you're still going to feel like it's something that's working on the inside. They often promise some sense of control over your life, and this is the one that always got me. I mean, looking at the faces of the women on the pictures of magazines and books, they looked like they had it all put together compared to my messy and confusing life. So that always hooked me. Any kind of sense of you can have control, you can manage, you can be in charge, you can dictate the terms. Those are very much false promises, because that's just not how the world works. And I think we get to a certain point in life, and we know that. Many of the spiritual ones promise enlightenment or some kind of final arrival, like a aha moment that it'll just click in. And then from that point forward, you're just skating. And it's interesting because that only works until the next, quick fix comes along. And then the biggest false promise of them all is that you can do it all yourself. I mean, everything is in your hands. Everything starts in your mind, as if we live in a vacuum of some kind, and or a video game where we can just kind of control what everybody else does. Again, this idea of self-sufficiency, the self-made person, these are very American concepts and ideas that have woven their way into the self-help world. So just a few of these phrases from the self-help, both secular and spiritual realms, change your thoughts, change your life. Positive vibes only. Just the idea of never quitting, never slowing down, like it's always pedal to the metal. This one's a Japanese proverb that I'd often heard and subscribed to, fall down 7 times, get up 8. But now I'm at this point where I think, if I've fallen down 7 times, maybe I just need to rest for a little bit. Maybe I need to reevaluate, reassess, redetermine. Maybe there's more to it than failure. You can rise above. I mean, that's a great sentiment, but sometimes the wisdom is below, as we'll see. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, which I think is a really painful thing to say to people, because sometimes, what really creates pain in our life doesn't make us stronger. It hurts, and it needs to be healed, and it needs to be accessed, and it needs to be honored. And we don't always just have to overcome everything that comes our way. Sometimes we can drop down and in to the traumas of our lives. The tactics of self-help are pretty much in line with the tactics of capitalism in general. Preying on our fear of inadequacy or just simply not enoughness. Promising the quick, easy fixes. I mean, here's just this one thing, and if you knew it, here's the secret. And how many times I have bought into that idea, suggesting an endpoint or some final perfection. And worst of all, really making you believe that there's something wrong with you if you don't bounce back better, or if you don't bounce back within a particular timeline that society has determined is the appropriate amount of time to heal from X. So the end result, I think, for a lot of us who work within the self-help is a sense of failure when we cannot or do not get back up right away. A culture that doesn't understand the significance, the importance, the value, the messaging, and the wisdom of crisis. A split between the desire to improve our individual lives and the understanding that we are part of a collective journey. And that, again, not everything is within our control. Very little actually is. And this eventually can lead to a misalignment with our own values and truth, especially if we're trying to measure our growth based on what society is approving of and where we're fitting in, and whether or not it's outwardly observable, which means that it can be really easy to compromise on what really matters. It can be easy to compromise on our own integrity or our own true north or our own, middle C, our own tuning fork. It can be really easy for that to get um, out of alignment as we start doing what the self-help tells us to do in order to make it to the top, I guess. And a loss of personal authority, and a loss of our belief in our own inner wisdom and our own inner guidance. So ultimately, the toxic trait of self-help, it boils down to this: there is a lack of wholeness. And as a wholeness advocate, this is the thing that has got me to this point where this just isn't enough anymore. It's not enough for where we are as a culture. It's not enough for us as complex human beings that live in an ecosystem of other humans and beliefs and cultural myths. I mean, we're swimming in so much. And I think for the times that we're living in, wholeness, bringing the pieces of ourselves back together, embracing crisis, embracing the times that we rise above, bringing it all together in a way that allows us to stay centered, to stay aligned to who we are, to be in our integrity. And our integrity, I define that simply by when we are aligned in our own truth, not anybody else's, but our own truth. I just did a talk on integrity last Sunday, and the replay is available on my website. And I very much invite you to take a look at that when we're talking about what do we need as we go into even more and more tumultuous times in the culture and in the world. And this idea that self-help, that was first developed like in the 50s and has, been very popular since then. But this idea that it's starting to lose some of its value, some of its popularity, and some of its service to society was emphasized for me recently when a friend of mine who is publishing a book, it's not really self-help, but her agent kind of thought that it was and pitched it that way to the publishers. And the publishers came back and said, basically, we're not publishing much more self-help right now. And so that was super validating for me to hear that, because I think that it means that I'm not the only one thinking this, that it is time for us to grow into something bigger, to develop our understanding of what it means really to heal and to become whole and to step into our power. So I think that it is time for us to move away from self-help and move into something, to step into something much greater, much more whole, much more aligned. We need to move from this idea of caring for the individual to caring for the collective. Because when we care for the collective, the individuals will automatically be taken care of. We need to move from this idea of that upward movement or outward movement is the only valid thing to celebrate, to really honoring and even celebrating the downward movement and the inward times in our lives. We need to move from short-term solutions to long-term healing. So that's pretty much self-help right there. Is everything is short-term. I mean, think about how many tips and tricks you've learned along the way that are still with you today. How many habit changes are still there? I mean, most of it is very short-lived. And we need this kind of long-term idea, the kind of healing that I say extends through and beyond the generations. We need to move from this concept of linear growth to a cyclical awareness where there is life and there is death and there is rebirth, and that we go through those cycles many times in one human life, and that it is beautiful and that it models nature. And that this idea that we can just continue to have this steady, perpetual growth is a myth that is really on its way out. We need to choose digging deep over rising above. We need to move from this constant focus on productivity at all costs, squeezing out everything you can from every single moment, to an emphasis on more rest, more reflection, more time in solitude and silence. Let's move from this idea of forced positivity, positive vibes only, to doing shadow work, to diving deep into the things that we have suppressed or ignored or shut away. And finally, let's move from this emphasis on self-responsibility for our failures, for our successes, to a systemic awareness that there are obstacles that have nothing to do with our mindset or our passion or our energy or what we put into it. So, if we're going to move from the self-help models to something new, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There is deeper wisdom to be found. It's not the superficial stuff. It's not maybe the stuff that makes the bestseller lists, but really is where the potency lies. So, just a few quotes here of this deeper wisdom from Carl Jung. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. James Hillman, who is a union analyst. We need to move beyond the upward positive obsession with growth and embrace the soul's journey down into the depths of darkness where true change begins. James Hollis, another Jungian analyst, our souls demand that we go downward into the underworld to wrestle with the gods of the unconscious rather than trying to rise above them. And so you can see I've gotten these ideas from deeper wisdom that has been with us. It is available. And then Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who wrote Women Who Run with the Wolves, the deep work of transformation comes from going down into the wild places of the psyche, into the bones where the seeds of rebirth lie. We need deeper wisdom because we have deeper needs. And so we need more than adaptation techniques and reframing techniques and telling people that, well, your pain isn't that bad compared to this. And, it could be worse kinds of ideas. We need acceptance of the downtimes in life. We need to honor the midlife crisis, the existential crisis, the dark night of the soul, the times in our lives where everything is breaking down. We need work that ties together the individual journey within the collective journey. We need cyclical growth cycles rather than linear, more focus on collective care, in addition to individual growth. And we need work that helps us discover who we really are and help us anchor to our true north. Again, that's our center, that's our integrity, that's our wholeness. It's our middle C. And so this is where I would like to offer my new course. It is called True North, Steadfast Living in Turbulent Times. My course is an online, self-guided, self-paced course designed to help you realize and live aligned to your truest self. It will accept you no matter where you are in your life cycle, whether you're in a crisis or whether you're riding the wave of success, or whether you're simply concerned about the collective crises that are bearing down on all of us. This work is going to take it all apart and allow us to build basically an inner lighthouse that will keep us aligned and will also be a beacon and a source of wisdom for others, especially during the most difficult times in life. Any of us, most of us, can stay aligned to who we are when times are easy and when we're around people that embrace us and know us and accept us. What is harder for all of us is to know and remain aligned to our true self when we're not in those places, when the winds are blowing, when the temptation is there, when it might just seem easier to compromise on who we are than to stand up for who we are and what we believe in. That's what my course is all about. It involves 3 stages that really align with the life cycle. First, we simply just recognize that we are in this state, that we do hold all of these beliefs and ideas, and that life is a lot more complicated than simply, again, rising above and boosting and growing on top of everything else. Sometimes it's time to just stop the merry-go-round ride and just get off and look around and take stock of our surroundings and recognize what the status quo is in our lives. And then we start to break things down. And this is sometimes happening for us. I mean, that's the whole idea of a breakdown, is that things are breaking down. But we can also do this very consciously, break down beliefs and ideas and constructs that we might think are helping us, but might actually be keeping us stuck. And then at some point, we have a breakthrough. And a breakthrough is just such a different feeling than simply, you know, growing on top of something else. This is a whole new life with the root system to support it. So, just a little bit more about each of these stages. In the stage, we'll talk about the status quo and how it holds us back from sometimes achieving the growth and fulfillment that we're looking for, and the acknowledgement that we have to break free from old patterns and inertia. Breaking down, once again, we know that we often treat thoughts and beliefs like things to collect. And so pretty soon we've got all of these ideas just stacked on top of each other and glued to each other and creating just pillars. And it eventually keeps us stuck. We all know that as we get older, it's harder to change. A lot of that has to do with this idea of beliefs coalescing and joining together and just making it so hard to get inside there. And then again, the breakthrough. Imagine a life where you are no longer swayed by external chaos. Picture a life where you are realigned with your core values. This is what it means to live a life from your true north. And this is what my course is intending to do. My course is broken down into 4 modules. The first one, again, it's about the status quo. So you're going to learn how to recognize and dismantle the ways that you've become stuck. Reclaim your ability to navigate with intention. Module 2 are going to focus on the personal, on the individual beliefs, and the ideas that have been planted in you even since childhood. We're going to look at childhood conditioning. We're going to look at how experiences shape our beliefs and often our lives. But then we're going to look at the outer world too, and we're going to consider the myths that have been told by our culture, especially the ones that keep us separate and disempowered. And module 4 is going to give you the tools and reminders to stay aligned to your newly empowered true north. Just a brief bit more about each module: the reign of the status quo. We're going to acknowledge the comfort in business as usual. We're going to understand how the status quo works to keep us preserved and locked in. And we're going to look at how sometimes only chaos can break us out of that space and how it can unlock potentials and foster a rebirth. Number 2, the labyrinth of habits and unconscious behavior. We're going to dive deep into the conditioning and shaping. Why are we the way we are? We're going to explore the limitations of habits as a means to achieve change. And we're going to talk about the habits that serve us and those that hold us back from true personal growth. And when we get to the cultural myths, here are just a few of them that we'll talk about. The myth of more, how this obstructs personal contentment and a cycle of constant dissatisfaction. We'll talk about the myth of scarcity and how that contributes to othering. And we'll talk about the myth of perpetual growth and how this growth influences our behavior. And these are just a few of the myths. There's a bunch more in the course. And then number 4, we're going to talk about integrity. We're going to talk about sovereignty. We're going to talk about compassion. We're going to talk about how to keep your compass aligned, but yet navigate your life, your complicated, multifaceted life with other people, and how this can work and how this work actually sets us up to becoming an elder in a society that I think is very hungry for elders. And my favorite part about this course, so much of self-help, as I've said, is about doing it yourself. Well, not with this. I'm creating a community space called the Alchemist Cave, and it is open to you the moment you sign up for the course. Um, I'm super excited about it. You will have lifetime access to this. So you can start right away. You're going to be able to use it to talk to other participants in the course, to chat with me, to share your successes, your breakthroughs, your aha moments, and just the joys of doing such deep, enriching work. And here are the details of the course. You have 2 choices: one payment of $7.99 or 2 of $399.50. And these payment options, you just go to my website and go to the course page, and they're available right there. You can register starting today, but it officially opens on November 18th of this year. So that's when the course modules will actually open. But the Alchemist Cave, like I say, is open right now. You move through it at your own pace. So a module will open when you have completed the one before it. This allows you to not feel rushed to do this course in alignment with your life. So if you can move through it fairly quickly, that's great. If you want to take months, that is also perfectly acceptable. And as a member, you get lifetime access to the Alchemist Cave. And as a thank you for joining this webinar tonight, here's a discount code to get $200 off either that first payment if you're making two, or $200 off that full payment. So in about half an hour, you will receive an email. And in that email, you will have a discount code first in, and that will get you $200 off the course price. Okay. So that is what I have. If you have any questions or comments, I would love to hear them. I know this runs a little bit ahead, so I want to give you a moment. If you're here to just say hi, if you've got a question, let me know. And also just to thank you so much for attending and for your interest in my course. And I want to give you just another minute. If you have any questions, feel free to post them or any comments. Okay, well, like I say, in about half an hour, you'll receive an email. Give it a look. It should answer any more questions you have. It'll also give you a link to the registration page on my website. And I just really look forward to seeing you when this course begins in November. Take care. Thank you so much.